No matter what the outcome, no matter what Terry did that day, we still have to find Kyron. We still have to bring him home. We still need to get answers, and we still need to hold her accountable. So don't stop sharing his story. Don't stop sharing his flyers. Don't stop telling the story. Share it with all your friends. Just talk about it at a dinner and see how many people even know who Kyron is. We do that all the time. I'm in the grocery store, people see my button. Oh, do you know that little boy? I've been watching that story. Or sometimes they go, oh, what's your button about? I don't know about this. Everyone still wants him to come home, and everybody still has that hope that we're going to get answers and that he will be, hopefully. Emotions when I come here to mix of sadness and anger, to be honest. I'm angry that we're still here and Terry is walking around free. Over the years, people have come up to me and said, I just can't wrap my head around a mother, a female, doing anything to a child. How could Terry have done something to Kyron? And you know, I think if you just look at one thing, and that's that she walked away from her 2-year-old and never looked back. That has not caused her a bit of heartache. She doesn't care. It's about the motherly instinct that's in all of us mothers. She doesn't have that. It's about that emotional connection, that innate physical yearning that you have with your child. She does not have that. She never has. That's all you have to look at. She doesn't have that empathy, that thing in us all that would stop us from ever harming or doing anything to a child. You will do anything to be near your child. And that says everything. I want her to be held accountable. I don't care if it's the case in Roseburg, which they need to prosecute for. The case in Washington County for the murder for hire, they need to prosecute her. All of these cases are solid. We have very strong evidence and probable cause to arrest her for those at the bare minimum. And then let's talk about Kyron. This is a travesty that we are here 12 years later. This was not a stranger that walked into this school and took my son. We have ruled out every single person in the school that day, every single person but one. One person we haven't been able to clear, and we have evidence against, is Terry. She needs to be held accountable, and Kyron needs justice. It's not acceptable. I just refuse to be here in another year.
Kyron Richard Horman was born on September 9, 2002, in Portland, Oregon, to parents Kane and Desiree. The couple divorced before Kyron was born, and he spent the first 2 years of his life living with his mother. Desiree was struggling with health problems and decided to seek treatment in Canada, so Kyron went to live with his father. It is untrue that Desiree and Terry had been friends before. They had never been friends. Desiree did try and get custody back after her medical trip, but Kane refused and married Terry and won custody with Desiree having visitation. Kane and Terry got married in 2007. Terry already had one son of her own, James, from a previous marriage, and the following year she and Kane welcomed their first child together into the world, a daughter named Kiera. Kyron Horman was a bright and energetic 7-year-old, who loved the beach and dreamed of becoming a police officer one day like his new stepfather, Tony Young. He excelled in school, was in an advanced math class, and showed a natural aptitude for learning sign language as well. Though he was clearly an intelligent child, Kyron had been having trouble with his memory in the weeks leading up to his disappearance and was said to sometimes space out during conversations. According to Terry, his doctor believed he might be having mini seizures and scheduled an appointment for him on June 11, 2010. Kyron's last science fair. June 4, 2010, was science fair day at Skyline Elementary, Kyron's school. Kyron, whose exhibit was about red-eyed tree frogs, was excited to go to school and show off his project that day. Terry brought him to school in the morning. They left his backpack and coat in his classroom and then went to set up his exhibit. Multiple witnesses placed Kyron, Terry, and baby Kiera in the gym at just after 8 a.m. Because of the science fair, the school was open to everyone that day, and no one was required to sign in. After looking around at the other science fair exhibits, Terry and baby Kiera left the school at around 8:45 a.m. Classes were just about to start and Terry last saw Kyron walking down the hallway towards his math class. She called out to him before leaving and he waved goodbye. Kyron Horman would never be seen or heard from again. Missing. Kane arrived home from work at 2 p.m. that day. An hour and a half later, Kane, Terry, and Kiera went down to the bus stop to wait for Kyron. The bus arrived at its usual time, but Kyron did not get off. According to the bus driver, he didn't get on the bus that day either. Terry called the school immediately and learned that Kyron never showed up for class and had been marked absent. Possibly due to a miscommunication between Terry and Kyron's teacher earlier that morning, the latter mistakenly believed that Kyron's doctor's appointment was for that day instead of for the following Friday, which is why she didn't find it concerning when Kyron was no longer there when class started. Once they all realized that Kyron was missing, the school secretary called 911 and the search ensued shortly thereafter. The search for Kyron Horman, the largest in Oregon's history, included over 1,300 searchers and spanned 10 days. Despite these efforts, nothing was ever found. There were no signs of Kyron anywhere. After this, Kyron's disappearance was officially considered a criminal investigation and no longer merely a missing persons case. Terry's timeline. According to Terry's own account, here is a timeline of her actions on the day Kyron went missing. 8 a.m. Kyron, Terry, and Kiera arrive at Skyline Elementary. 8:45 a.m. Last sighting of Kyron, as he walked down the hallway to his math class. Terry and Kiera leave the school. 9 a.m. Terry arrives at a Fred Meyer store. She needed to pick up medication for Kiera, who had an ear infection. However, she accidentally went to the wrong Fred Meyer the first time. 9:30 a.m. Terry arrives at the second, and correct, Fred Meyer store and picks up Kiera's medication. Around 10 a.m. Terry drops off her husband's dry cleaning. 10:10 a.m. Terry stops at a Michael's craft store. 10:39 a.m. Terry makes a phone call, but to whom she made the call is not publicly known. 10:10 a.m. to 11:39 a.m. Terry says that she was driving around because the smooth motion made her sick baby feel better. 11:39 a.m. Terry arrives at the gym and leaves Kiera at the on-site daycare center. 12:20 p.m. Terry and Kiera leave the gym. 12:40 p.m. they arrive home. 1:21 p.m. Terry uploads photos to her Facebook account, including the pictures of Kyron she had taken that day at the science fair. 2:00 p.m. Kane arrives home from work. Terry is still on the computer. 3:30 p.m. the family heads to the bus stop to wait for Kyron. Kyron's parents, Kyron Horman and Desiree Young. Investigation. Shortly into the investigation, the police started to suspect Terry Horman of being involved in her stepson's disappearance. Out of all 4 adults, Kyron's parents, and his step-parents, Terry was the only one to fail a polygraph exam, not once but twice. A look at Terry's emails revealed that she did not like Kyron and even blamed him for her marital troubles. She also allegedly resented the fact that Kane had made her son move out months earlier, due to the fact that Kane and James did not get along. Additionally, just a couple of days after Kyron disappeared, Terry was quoted as telling Desiree, "I love your son." Some have found this wording to be telling, as Terry was already speaking of Kyron in the past tense, while the rest of his family was still hopeful that he would be found alive and well. Was this just an unfortunate slip of the tongue? Or a sign that she was already aware of his fate? Desiree, for her part, strongly believed that Terry is guilty. Kane also believes this, stating that Terry appeared to suffer from postpartum depression and a personality disorder, in addition to having a problem with alcohol. He later divorced her and filed a restraining order against her. Some suspected that Terry's best friend, Deed Spicker, may have been involved as well, especially since she had roughly 3 hours of time that she refused to account for on the day that Kyron went missing, which happened to overlap with when Terry was supposedly driving her baby around. It was later learned that Deed was working at a local nursery that day, but since she was also collecting unemployment checks at the time, she didn't want to admit to what would amount to unemployment fraud. Deed has since claimed that she has been unofficially cleared of any suspicion in this case. Journalist's book provides new circumstantial evidence. In 2020, Rebecca Morris, author of Boy Missing: The Search for Kyron Horman, revealed that multiple witnesses reportedly spotted Kyron leaving the school with Terry and her infant daughter on the morning of June 4th. These eyewitnesses included Kyron's bus driver, a classmate, and 2 family members of the classmates. Morris wrote in her book that investigators were immediately suspicious of Kyron's stepmother because of her eerily happy and cheerful demeanor on the day of his disappearance. The book also alleged that Terry washed Kyron's jacket and backpack that day. Other claims in the book included: the day before Kyron's disappearance, Terry emailed a friend and said that she was going to leave Kane the next day and take her daughter with her. Terry wasn't able to recall or describe to police where she was for parts of the day. She had a suspicious, large gash on her leg. Despite all of this, Terry has always maintained her innocence in Kyron's disappearance. She said her own belief is that Kyron was abducted from the school, pointing out that there were known pedophiles living in the area at the time. Hitman plot. 3 weeks after Kyron went missing, Kane was informed by police officers that an undercover operation was underway at his home. The reason for this was that a landscaper for the Hormans had come forward to say that Terry had attempted to hire him to murder her husband, whom she claimed was abusive towards her. Allegedly, Terry told Rodolfo Rudy Sanchez Estrada that Kane often carried large amounts of cash with him and suggested that Rudy make Kane's murder look like a mugging and that he was welcome to keep whatever money he found for his efforts. Perhaps realizing what was going on, an undercover agent tried to get Terry to incriminate herself, but she didn't and no charges were filed. Many have questioned the veracity of Rudy's story, however, pointing out that it would have been difficult for the pair to even communicate with one another, given the fact that they could not speak each other's languages. Though if the story is true, this may not have been the first time that Terry had attempted such a thing. Sean Rea, an ex-boyfriend of Terry's, came forward to say that he believed that she had hired a hitman to kill him back in 1990. On the day in question, the two were having lunch in the park when they were approached by a man holding a gun. Terry supposedly got up and shouted to Sean, "He's here for you." But the man, perhaps losing his nerve, did not fire and instead ran away. Sean broke up with Terry following this incident and moved away soon thereafter. Current state of the investigation. In the years following Kyron's disappearance, Terry has been in trouble with the law again, both for driving a stolen car and for stealing a gun from her roommate. She was also accused of domestic violence in 2016 by her then-partner, Joseph Cristobal. In 2012, a Multnomah County Circuit Court judge called Terry a prime suspect, but no concrete evidence linking her, or anyone else, to Kyron's disappearance has ever been found. The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office stated it has received over 4,000 tips since Kyron's disappearance in 2010. Spokesman Chris Liedel said authorities continue to get 1 to 20 leads every month and have 2 detectives and an FBI agent assigned to the case full-time. During their investigation, agents conducted DNA analysis on Kyron's toothbrush and uploaded his dental characteristics and X-rays to the National Missing and Unidentified Persons database, hoping for a match with one of the thousands of unidentified victims around the country. Police have also continued to release age-progressed photos of Kyron. Despite these efforts, there have been no further developments announced in the case. Nevertheless, his family has not given up hope that he might still be out there somewhere. On what would have been Kyron's 20th birthday on September 9, 2022, his family hosted a car wash. All proceeds went towards the continued efforts to locate Kyron. His mother, Desiree, also organized a rally outside the Multnomah County District Attorney's office and called for a new task force to strategize how to pursue a no-body homicide prosecution. During a news conference, Desiree spoke of the pain she still experiences. Making the drive-in for 12 years and pulling up to the school and knowing this was the last place Kyron was, I can't even explain the anguish and the heartache. In a statement to the media, Multnomah County DA Mike Schmidt wrote, "My heart goes out to Kyron's family and the dedicated and compassionate community they have built around his disappearance. To date, this case is open and we remain committed to investigating new facts and evidence should either surface.